got the ticket for you. You get to sit right on the 50-yard line for the funniest pets and people sports spectacular special. A duffer's drive becomes a slice. A dog who takes a dive. A puppy team chows down. A ball most foul. A beefy bulldog border, bro. And a chairman who is never bored. On the funniest pets and people sports spectacular. It's the show that will have you sit, stay, laugh, and beg for more. Welcome to Funniest Pets and People. It's not just how you get to Carnegie Hall, it's how you get anywhere. Practice, practice, practice. Before getting back in the ring with the magnificent mouse, Tabby hit the speed bag at the gym. Now, he knew he couldn't beat the mouse. All he wanted was to go the distance. Then people would know he wasn't just another palooka from the alley. What's the use of having 9 lives if you aren't going to live them all to the fullest? Moses knew it was important to start small and work your way up. 2 weeks ago, she was jumping over babies. Last week, it was toddlers, and this week, pre-teen girls. Heck, at this rate, she'll be jumping over grandmas at the Silverdale Retirement Home in no time. A human athlete would have to spread these 8 hurdles out over a 100-meter track and jump them one at a time. But look at what Frisky can do. And all it took was just a little practice. Barney here is the perfect example of practice making perfect. To think that just a week ago, 24 of these 25 Frisbees ended up just bouncing off her snout. Nice job, Barney. Corey's been practicing every day for months, and now he thinks he's finally ready to enter a tournament.
Yeah, pretty good. Oh!
Maybe a little more practice is in order, huh?
I'll play with you down there.
Dutch here knows that jumping rope is the best way to practice for any sport. Plus, you get to rhyme while you do it. Cinderella, dressed in yellow, went to the dog park to meet a fella. It really isn't necessary to have deadly accuracy when shot putting, which is kind of too bad, because this guy's really good. Wow, every time. Guy's a machine. Now, dogs are good at volleyball for 2 reasons. 1, they always get the ball over the net, and 2, no one really wants to touch the ball after it hits their wet nose. Okay, he doesn't score any points. He fouls out of every game, and he isn't what you call a team player. But man, his defense is tenacious.
The launcher works by placing the ball in the slot, down through the tube, into the can, and it gets launched by stepping on this pad. And here's Bailey taking a little siesta before he entertains us. Come on, Bailey.
Sometimes Bailey's master is just too tired to play catch. And that's when Bailey busts out the fetching machine. Just so long as Bailey's master never gets too tired to feed him, they'll be just fine. Sometimes practice isn't enough. You also need to be prepared. Now someone can practice putting on a bandage. Grab your pole, pick out some bait, and head for the boat. It's time for some fishing. Now, we've all heard of the one that got away, right? Well, here's the one that came to stay. It was bad enough that Amelia hadn't had a bite all day. But when the fish came ashore to openly mock her, she started thinking about hanging up her pole.
Yes. Wave hello. Oh, good boy.
Steve loved waving to the folks. It was good exercise, and anything that kept him out of school was good with him. No pole, no bait, no boat. No problem. Bucky bragged about his minnow catching technique, but all the other dogs knew that Bucky was just catching fish in a barrel. It should be the first rule of ice fishing, yet it is seldom followed. Sure, it's okay to pose for a picture, and it is even okay to brag a little. But the thing you should always do first is...
This is going to be the winner!
cover the hole. America, you're on the clock. These are your future draft picks. You've heard of a golden retriever, right? Well, meet a golden receiver. This Boston Terrier not only will catch every pass you throw his way, but he'll also perfectly execute the flea flicker every time. He's approaching the branch. Be ready for his signature triple Lutz spinning dismount, and oh my goodness, we've had a malfunction. He's okay, everybody, he's okay. He'll nail it next time. Now, any good running back can go over the pile at the goal line. But if you go to that well once too often, fatigue's gonna set in. But as long as you break the plane, it's still 6 points. Just like my middle school hockey coach used to drum into our heads at every practice, if you score, you may win. If your opponent never scores, you can never lose. Defense wins championships. Isn't that right, Mr. Tingles? If football is football in America and soccer is football in Europe, I guess we can all agree on one thing. This dog is playing football. When scouting for draft picks, you're looking for athleticism, you're looking for instinct, you're looking for intelligence too. Sometimes you just gotta settle for 2 out of 3. It may not have been the shot heard round the world, but it certainly was the shot heard round the Hartford Community Center. Coming up, a halfback does a half gainer. And a 50-meter duck dash. When we return to Funniest Pets and People. Welcome back to the Funniest Pets and People Sports Spectacular. If an athlete wants to stay in shape, he has to learn to eat right. This is sports nutrition. The weigh-in is at 3 o'clock. And Miles here needs to go from squirrel weight to possum weight in just a few hours. Good luck, Miles. Just hope he isn't too bloated to compete. When you're part of a team, you live together, you work together, you even play together. In fact, the only time you compete against each other is at the training table. There, it's every pup for himself. Before the big race, Commando combines his workout with his nutrition, because both are equally important. Jinx considered himself an outdoor squirrel. He preferred gathering his food when he trained. Still, he wasn't going to pass up on a free lunch. He wasn't that hard-headed. Next time, Jinxie, a little to the left there, buddy. Before the big game, it's important to have a hearty, healthy meal. And nothing says hearty like making your own gravy.
And water makes its own sauce.
Up until now, no one has been keeping score. But that's about to change because it's game time. In volleyball, there's the set, the spike, and of course, the bump. Let's see that again. Game, set, ouch. Just as in the wild, the bears and the lions seem sure-footed and confident. Yet the zebra can't quite get his footing and consistently falls down. This should prove it once and for all. When it comes to game time, 4 legs are a lot better than 2. Any other time, Zeke would have been content to put the toys in the hoop one at a time. Any other time. But this was game time. No less than 10 at once would do. Oh yeah, that's 20 points, baby. In your face. He's at the 30, the 20, the 10. He dives to the 5.
All right, rest up. Here we go. Jump.
It is amazing what a positive attitude, repetition, and kindness can achieve. It took months of training, but the end result was worth it. Molly has trained this man to give her a treat every time she plays with the rings. Jimmy's mom wouldn't let him try out for the team because she felt it was too dangerous. Be the mascot, she said. The mascot never gets injured. Thanks, Mom. Welcome to the Webbed Feet Derby. The Ducks are approaching the starting gate. Place your bets as the ticket windows are closing. And they're off. Gee, they all look the same. Oh well. Waddles takes the lead. Waddles makes up the middle, and Waddles brings up the rear. Looks like it's Waddles' race to lose. And the winner is Waddles, followed by Waddles and either Waddles or Waddles for show. Please hold all tickets. It's a photo finish. It's like running, but a whole lot faster. These are sports with wheels. Is it the thrill of the grind, the wind on their face, or the fact that on a bicycle, their feet won't reach the pedals? The kids told Dad the best way to learn to rollerblade was to wear shorts, bring the dog, find a steep sidewalk, preferably close to a large body of water, and, oh yeah, make sure you're having it videotaped. Maybe the kids planned this a little better than we thought, huh? Now, you've heard the expression that if life gives you lemons, you should make lemonade, right? Well, if your wheel won't work, you should make it into an elliptical trainer. These guys are flipping over the way they turn their frown upside down. It's only a matter of months before you see these guys on a late-night infomercial hawking their new invention. When does a driving test become a workout? Well, when your pulse rate skyrockets because your motorcycle goes bananas. He aced the driving part, but he did so poorly at parking that, well, he's going to have to try again another day. Parakeet practices Pilates. And a natural-born goalie. When we return to Funniest Pets and People. Welcome back to the Funniest Pets and People Sports Spectacular. Here's a little-known sports record. The fans of Manchester United once sang the Macarena. Only sold 4 copies. This bird holds the record for most attempts without actually ever taking off. At least we assume it's a record. I mean, no one really keeps track of such things. This guy isn't breaking a record. He just wanted to see what it would be like to be a record. So he trained his dog to spin his chair at 33 1/3 RPMs. Spin him the other way and you'll hear a secret message.
Come on, Jim, hurry up! Come on, Jim, hurry up! All right!
These folks are setting the record for the coldest, loneliest, and hottest sport. But they'll have a long way to go to beat ice karate. Here is trying to set the record for the doggy discus. But in doggy discus, it isn't so much about distance as it is about style. Chuckles is breaking the record for the longest flight without actually getting anywhere. Were it not for that cage, he'd be in Bermuda by now.
Ready?
These guys are setting 2 records. Dizziest cat and cleanest floor. George just finished setting the record for eating the most Mexican jumping beans in a single sitting. Now he's paying the price. Gerald wants to break the record for most air hockey victories. So he trains with that metal cone on a non-aerodynamically designed surface. You see, that way, when he plays with a real air hockey puck, he will totally dominate. Coming up, a season ticket holder with cheap seats. When we return to Funniest Pets and People. Welcome back to the Funniest Pets and People Sports Spectacular.
Lawn chair juggling, take one.
In life, some people are athletes and some people are the halftime show. Let's just say Dan here is used to performing with the band. See you next time.